Welcome back in the Fever. We're going to take a little bit look at some of the outstanding performances this past week in Week 0, and maybe none were as impressive as Coronado quarterback Chris Camp.
Here with Coronado quarterback Chris Camp, this week's Lone Star Varsity and Lubbock Avalanche-Journal Player of the Week. And Chris had a very successful debut as a starting quarterback for the Mustangs. Threw for 355 yards, 3 touchdowns, and rushed for another. Chris, talk about your debut. Just an outstanding way to get your varsity career started.
It was just a blast. It was very just enthusiasm for the whole team, and we went out there and we tried to prove that we're just as good as last year's team, and we just showed that we're just capable of going deep in the playoffs, and I think that start is going to have a good jump for us getting to a district championship.
A lot of new guys to start the year this year, you being one of them. How well did that help in kind of meshing with the team? A lot of new guys kind of going through the same thing that you did.
I think it brought all of us close, and we knew the way that we had to play, the way that the last year's team was, and we just came out there, and I don't think anyone would have known that we were all new starters this year.
Speaking of plays, turn around here. We've got the tackling dummies here. As quarterback, when you get to the line, you're looking at reading the defense. What specifically, pretend you got a defense out here, what specifically are you looking at when you come to the line?
I usually look for the safeties and see where they're lined up, if they're playing the field or formation, and I look at corners and see if they're playing cover 2, man, and then lastly, I usually look at the linebackers and see if I can pick up a blitz or if they're dropping back in coverage, and that's what I just go off that and just have other reads on receivers. I just usually try to pick who I'm going to throw to before the play starts.
Well, he certainly did that, throwing for 300 yards, 3 touchdowns this last week against Franklin, going into the game with Amarillo, the big district contest this week, with a lot of confidence.
Camp, a big game this week, but obviously Sam Teague also had a big game.
Yeah, very good job by Sam Teague, the Monterey quarterback. Like we said earlier, running the option offense. First time in there, I was able to see him during their scrimmage against Randall, and he did an outstanding job. I thought, really controlling the ball, making the right reads, getting it to the right people, and he kind of continued this last week, rushing for 102 yards on 18 carries and a touchdown. And the biggest thing I think that he did was they took the ball on the opening drive and went right down the field and got a touchdown and really set the tone for the game, I thought. And he did a good job, not only running the option, but, not only running it himself, but distributing it to other people as well.
Another quarterback that came up big was Wes Wood, a muleshoe. Had a big game passing-wise, 19 of 29 for 254 yards, 5 passing touchdowns, a rushing touchdown as well, and I think he surprised a couple of people this past week.
I think you're right. Everybody was kind of wondering how Muleshoe's offense would run without Garrett Riley, who'd been there for 2 years and had kind of become a stalwart there on the South Plains as far as throwing the football. Obviously, his brother, I believe it is Lincoln Riley with Tech. They kind of know that Tech passing offense. But it was interesting to see how a new quarterback was going to go in that offense, and Wes Wood just did an outstanding job, throwing the football, getting it to the right people as well. And I think everybody can kind of take from this that Muleshoe is going to be just fine offensively.
Yeah, had a 72-yard pass to Ray Ramirez late in the fourth quarter to put Muleshoe up 47-7, and it just seemed like it never stopped from there. Another person who had a big game defensive-wise was Chris Davis of Brownfield. 97 yards rushing on offense, but he also does a little bit on defense and intercepting Shadowwater's Jordan Scaff. Yeah,
anybody that's watched area athletics here over the last couple of years has saw the emergence of Chris Davis at Brownfield, not only in football but in basketball as well. An outstanding basketball player, but you're right, just a great all-around athlete to be able to do what he did offensively and defensively. Rushing the ball, distributing the ball, like we said, making the Brownfield offense go, but then getting the big interception return that really helped get Brownfield going and seal that win over Shallowwater. Just an outstanding athlete and a great player for them.
He follows that 79-yard interception return with an 18-yard run, punching in with about 10 seconds left. And Shallowwater obviously had to overcome some things with not having Morris in the game, but I think Brownfield really stood out in that one.
Yeah, I think so. Brownfield, it was going to be a tough test for Shallowwater. We knew going in without Andrew Morris, but I thought Jordan Scaff did an admirable job for the little time that he had, to be able to work in the offense, to do a good job, directing the ball for Shallowwater, running that offense. I think he was going to be a little behind, obviously, with not having the time in the offense under center. But I guess for the time that he did have, he did a good job.
Camp with the big game this week, but we'll talk to Coronado head coach Butch Henderson, find out a little bit more about the Mustangs offense and what went well for them when we come back in the Fever.